Imagine a young baseball player who's really good at hitting, but every day at practice he's told to focus only on bunting because that's his weakness. But over time, the strengths that were making him great start to slip, and before he knows it, he's been benched. This happens to writers too. You might be great at powerful ideas, intense scenes, or emotional interactions between characters, but instead of developing those strengths, you get pulled into fixing every so-called flaw in your writing or your writing process. In this video, I'm going to show you why that mindset is completely wrong and what to do instead so that you actually keep growing into the writer you were meant to become. Here's something that I wish I had learned a lot earlier. Your creative growth as a writer doesn't come from obsessing over your flaws. It comes from understanding your natural strengths and building on those. Now, I'm not saying that you completely ignore your weaknesses or you don't work on them. For example, early on in my writing career, I had a mentor that told me I needed to work on plot. So I obsessed over plot for a while, and now my stories get praised for their satisfying plots. So I'm not saying don't work on your weaknesses, but I just mean that more of your attention should go at figuring out what you're good at and then building on that. Most of us writers are never taught this. From the very beginning, when we're even in elementary school, what the teacher points out is often our weaknesses, what we did wrong. And so we focus on our weaknesses, focus on the flaws, focus on fixing this and fixing that, and rarely are we told what we did right or what really stood out about our work compared to perhaps another student's work. So we never learn what we're really good at, only what we need to fix. There's research to back up this idea that focusing on your strengths is a better strategy if you want to become a successful writer or successful at anything really. A Gallup analysis, for example, showed that people who use their strengths every day in their work life are 6 times more likely to be engaged at work and 3 times more likely to say that they enjoy a high quality of life. I mean, that's huge. That means not only are you enjoying your work, but you feel like your life is of better quality if you are focusing on your strengths every day, if what you're doing is tapping into your strengths. Writing is the same way. Leaning into the parts of the craft that come naturally to you, that you're naturally good at. That might be your instinct for story ideas. That might be your knack for good dialogue. That might be a gift for writing vivid action scenes. Whatever it is, it's good to lean into that rather than spending all of your time on things that tend to drain you, things that you're not so good at. Most writing advice hands you a generic system without seeing if it really helps you personally or matches your way of working. That's why I built the Master Writer Mindset Quiz, which you can take for free at the link below, to help you recognize how your mind works best. Once you understand how your writing strengths are showing up in your writing, or even your writing process, or even your book marketing, you can start making choices that reinforce these patterns. And over time, you'll start to notice that writing starts to feel more fun, or that you start to feel more confident about what you're doing, because you're focusing more on your strengths. Stick around, because next in the video, we're going to explore 3 reasons why focusing on your strengths makes your growth more sustainable, and then dive into what this looks like for each of the 7 mindset types. And again, if you don't know your mindset type, feel free to take the quiz really quick below. It'll only take you like 5 or 10 minutes. All right, number 1 reason why it's a good idea to lean into your strengths more than your weaknesses is that strengths tend to fuel your energy and your engagement. Think about how you feel when you're doing something you're naturally good at. If you like to write dialogue between characters and you get to a scene where you're writing that dialogue, time tends to stand still, right? You don't realize how much time has passed because you're just enjoying yourself. When you work in ways that tap into your natural strengths, you're going to feel more motivated. You're going to feel more energized. You're going to be more engaged in what you're doing, as opposed to if you're working on something that you're not good at or you don't think you're good at. If you force yourself into a place, okay, I got to work on setting. Maybe you're not so good at setting. It is good to work on setting, but you need to work on it in a way that taps into your strengths. If you just look at it like a slog, I have to work on setting, you're not going to be as motivated. You're not going to be as energized, and you probably aren't going to improve. When you approach your weaknesses through the angle of your strengths, you're more likely to improve. Just understand that if you are using your strengths, you're going to feel more energized and engaged in what you're doing, and that's going to help you create the momentum that you need to finish your writing projects. The second reason that tapping into your strengths is a better strategy is that it tends to offer faster and more sustainable growth in your career. Research rooted in what they call self-determination theory finds that focusing on strengths often yields better long-term development for any person than endless deficit correction, meaning, always just focusing on your weaknesses, always focusing on what you need to fix tends to stall your growth more than focusing equally or even more so on what you do well. When you double down on what you do well, you build a foundation of competence that then tends to bleed into other areas. So for example, if you have a natural talent for plotting, focusing on that is going to accelerate your overall progress more than isolating some weakness, like maybe you're not so good at grammar. So if you're focusing on that to start with, that is your primary focus, you're not going to grow as quickly as if you focus on plot, which you're naturally good at, and then improve grammar as you go. As your confidence grows in the areas where you're strong, you're more willing to experiment with other things. You're more willing to take creative risks, and you're going to learn more from your mistakes because that confidence is key to being willing to try things and make mistakes and then try again. That kind of growth is more sustainable because you're intrinsically motivated. You feel capable and curious, so you're willing to try things. Whereas if you're focusing only on your weaknesses, you're not going to feel that way. You're going to feel full of self-doubt and like you don't know what you're doing, so you're not willing to take risks or to make mistakes. And finally, number 3 reason that you want to focus on your strengths is that it tends to help shape your unique identity as a writer. And this is so important. We have to find out who we are as artists, because the more we understand that, the more that we can finesse our projects and our marketing and our online presence and everything to go along with what we're strong in. Self-determination theory emphasizes that autonomy and competency are the core of motivation and well-being. The more we feel like we know ourselves and we know what we're good at and we're competent at what we're doing, the more we're going to be motivated and the better we're going to feel overall in our lives. In writing, your strengths are about your authentic voice and your approach to storytelling. If you ignore them, then you risk just drifting toward generic habits or just staying at a mediocre level because you're not tapping into those things that resonate with who you are. Imagine if you had 2 bar graphs. And here's your strengths and here's your weaknesses, okay? If you build on these strengths, you gradually become a writer who reaches this level. If you focus only on weaknesses, even if you improve those, eventually you're only going to come up to the level of your strengths. The way that you stand out as a writer is understanding your strengths, building on them so that you can become that more successful writer that you want to be. Because as you do that, you start to hone your creative identity. The more you understand what you're good at, the more you work on that, the more you become better at that, because just because you're good at it doesn't mean you've arrived. You get better at what you're good at. Then you're taking yourself higher and higher along this ladder, so to speak, to where you can actually stand out with what you're doing. I talked about this in my book, Writer Get Noticed. If you're not sure what your strengths are, then I would suggest you go check this book out because it has all kinds of exercises in it that will help you discover what your strengths are and help you to set up an author blueprint that has your mission statement, what you're good at, how you will best approach your writing career, all those things you will develop as you go through that book. So I just want to suggest that because that's what that book is all about, is discovering what your strengths are as a writer. Okay, so we've talked about the 3 reasons why focusing on your strengths is the best way to move forward in your writing life. So next, we're going to look at how each of the 7 writer mindset types that I have in my Master Writer Mindset quiz can identify and lean into their unique strengths, beginning now. Okay, so we're going to start with the seer, type number 1. And usually seers are strong in big picture thinking. They are really good at envisioning the big picture. They can see where the story needs to go. They naturally notice possibilities in the overall vision that others might miss. So how can you lean into this? A really good way for seers is vision mapping. Just create a mind map of the themes and arcs in this story that you're thinking about writing. The story right, type number 2. One of your main strengths is narrative structuring. You're really good at outlining, at figuring out how characters need to progress from one scene to the next and how the pacing unfolds. So how you lean into that, you use your ability to structure things well to create a roadmap. So maybe you use summaries, or you use bullet points, or you use index cards all over the wall, or whatever system works the best for you. Go ahead and say, okay, I'm good at structuring and I'm going to structure this story to the best of my ability. If you are a fire starter, one of your strengths is your ability to generate ideas. You have all these ideas of things you want to do, new things that are exciting to you. How you lean into this is that you carve out brief sessions where you can chase that fresh idea. So maybe you give yourself 15 minutes to chase this idea, to write down what it might look like, and then have a file where you're keeping these little quick inspired sprints, because those are going to help you determine which idea is best to follow. One of the struggles fire starters have is choosing which idea to dive into. So if you do these little quick inspired writing sprints, then keep it in the file, then later on you can pick 5 of those and compare them and see which one works best for you. The Bastion, type number 4. One of the biggest strengths of this type is their steady reliability. They tend to show up consistently to write or to work on their writing projects. They have a rhythm and a reliability that builds progress over time. So you want to lean into that. You want to build a core routine that helps you make that gradual daily progress that you feel comfortable with. So maybe you have a word count goal every day, or you have a time that you're going to write every day, and you have that fixed in your schedule. You create a calendar that has these times and you're ready to sit down and work at those times. Lean into that strength so you can make that gradual progress. The Pathbreaker, type number 5. One of your strengths is you're very independent and you tend to innovate based on your unique ideas. So how do you lean into that strength? You set up occasional wild card exercises where you sit down and you indulge yourself. Write a scene in an unusual format. Maybe it's all dialogue without quotation marks. Maybe it's letters written back and forth between 2 characters. Whatever your ideas might be, you just allow yourself time to pursue those, because your unconventional idea could be your next standout book. Type number 6 is the spark length. One of your main strengths. You enjoy engaging with other writers and building communities. So you want to lean into that. One of the ways you can do that is to set up community-driven writing sessions. This can be in person or even online. Or you can actually collaborate with another writer on a short story if you like, or have several writers get together and create an anthology. These interactions feed your network instinct, and they're going to help motivate you to go on to the next project and the next. And plus, they're going to help you to create these really awesome communities of different creators. So lean into that strength. It's a good thing. And finally, the last type, number 7, is the Heartsmith. And one of your main strengths is that you love finding meaning in stories. You look for purpose in your work and for some deeper message that's coming through anything that you might read or write. So lean into that. After drafting a section or outlining a story or even starting a story, you can ask yourself, does this really matter to me? Am I tapping into something that really hits me emotionally or in a deep way? You can use a journal to regularly talk about things that matter to you and how you might turn those into stories, or what might be a deeper purpose in the story you're writing now that you can gradually bring out through your character interactions. All of these quick techniques that I'm giving you here for each type are just ideas, and then you can always build on what you know about yourself and how you work best. But the thinking is to find your strengths and then lean into those, both in your writing process and in your actual writing projects. The more you do that, the more you're going to hone that writing identity that you have, and the more you're going to get to know yourself as an artist, and that's only going to motivate you more. So your mission of the week, if you choose to accept it, take a moment to think about your top 3 strengths and write those down. Or you can even go back in this video and see each one for each type. And if you know your mindset type, then you can ask yourself, does this apply to me? And might this work for me? Or if not, what is my strength in this type? And after you've determined those top 3 strengths, then pick one of them and choose one small action that you can take this week that helps you lean into that strength. After you try that short change, just notice if it worked for you or not. Did you feel more energy? Did you get into the flow better when you're actually working on your story? These are the kind of questions you want to ask yourself. And then write down one observation about that. So I hope that was helpful to you. If you haven't taken the Master Writer Mindset quiz yet, you can do that for free at the link below. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.